I hadn't decided that I was going to talk about this, but I've decided I'm going to because I feel like it's something that lots of you are going to empathize with. And I am going to tell you some secrets that I'm hoping my mother won't listen to and what I'm going to do about it. So let's go. Welcome to the PhD Life Coach podcast. And I am talking mobile phone usage. I'm recording this on the 3rd of November. It'll be coming to you in a week's time, something like that. So it's a weird time for New Year's resolutions, right? But I've just I've reached a point where I have so many things that I want to do and where I really want something to change with my phone use. And I'm going to share with you today why that is. I'm going to share numbers, which makes me want to cry, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm going to share numbers. I'm going to share my screen time numbers and all that sort of jazz. I'm going to tell you why I think it's a problem, why I'm bringing a lot of compassion to myself. So I'm going to try and demonstrate how I'm practicing what I preach with all of this stuff. And I'm also going to tell you what I am doing about it. And whilst I don't believe in sort of external accountability, I do hope that by sharing this with you and potentially updating you on my journey as I go through it, it might be interesting for all of us. So let's crack it out. Let's crack my gorgeous little phone here out, which wastes far too much of my time. And let's go to screen time. We are going to screen time, see all app. So we'll go week. Why not? Last week's average, I don't even want to say it out loud. Last week's daily average was 6 hours and 54 minutes. Before that, it was 5:44, 6:11. So it's that kind of ballpark, of which last week, apparently, I spent 12 hours on Instagram. I'm just outraged. In fact, when you throw in Facebook as well, it becomes 15 and a half hours. I'm not going to count WhatsApp. WhatsApp's talking to my friends. Talking to my friends is important. This makes me want to vomit. Genuinely makes me want to vomit. I am somebody who feels like she has 100,000 things she wants to do. There's things I want to do for my business. There's things I want to do for my health. There's hobbies, there's interests, there's friends. And I don't tell myself I'm too busy as much as I used to, but I do tell myself I'm too busy. And I am doing that. And I'm going to bring a whole load of self-compassion because I'm feeling the judgment in myself, even as I talk to you about this today. I I'm not unusual, right? I am pretty confident if you guys open up your screen time now, there'll be a whole bunch of you, probably parents, who are going, what? How on earth? And there'll be others of you going, mate, you should see mine. Okay. So I'm well aware there is a whole range of this. I'm also well aware that this isn't by chance, right? These things have been designed specifically to engage us, to draw us in, to keep our eyes on their information so that they get our information and so they can sell us stuff. So I am not holding this up as a me being weak or me being stupid or lazy or any of those things. I genuinely don't make it mean those things about myself. And I have been quite careful in curating what I look at. So some of you, yeah, I'm sure you've all heard the phrase doom scrolling, and I'm sure a lot of you do engage in it. I do a little tiny bit. So I follow this. Have you seen there's a brother and sister on Instagram who are very liberal and their parents are very right wing, and they interview them essentially. So I doom scroll things like that sometimes. I'm not going to give you links. You can find them if you're going to spend more time online. So I do doom scroll things like that from time to time. I do look at the news from time to time, but it's mostly not that, right? I've quite carefully curated, particularly my Instagram feed, so that it is essentially hobbies that I like and dogs. Lots of dogs. The problem is that I'm spending far more hours looking at pictures of dogs than playing with my dog, or looking at people doing circus tricks than practicing my circus tricks, or looking at people doing calisthenics than doing my calisthenics, or looking at people doing art than doing my art, etc. Can you tell I have a lot of hobbies? You hopefully know that about me already. And so, whilst I'm not blaming myself, and whilst I'm not kind of beating myself up in a sort of you're so weak and stupid sort of a way, I do also want to take control over this, because this is not what I want my future self to be like. I want to be able to do some fun stuff, when I'm laying on the sofa showing my husband cute dog videos. I want to do that sometimes. It's cute. We laugh together, we enjoy it, it's fun. But if I'm designing my dream day, my dream day doesn't start with an hour's scrolling, and my dream day isn't punctuated by scrolling all the way through the day, and it doesn't end with an hour's scrolling. So that's one big reason. This is not what I want my future to look like. Another reason is I've become increasingly aware of when I grab my phone. And I grab my phone when I haven't made a decision about something else. So when it's not clear what else I want to be doing. And I grab my phone when something gets difficult. So I do genuinely, I'm being really open with you here, right? Because I think you guys value that, but I think it's useful to know that somebody who gives you lots of advice doesn't have it all figured out. I notice that if I'm saying, oh, should I do this or should I do that? Should I write it like this or write it like that? I grab my phone. And the only explanation is I'm grabbing my phone to avoid the mild, and it is only mild discomfort of not knowing what I'm going to say, or not having decided what I'm going to say, or not having decided how I'm going to do something. And the other thing that scares me is how often I go on my phone to do one thing, and then 15 minutes later, get back to what I was doing and realize I never did the thing I intended to do on my phone. I'm going on my phone to check the weather for tomorrow or something. And I come back 15 minutes later and I've answered something on LinkedIn, I've liked somebody's whatever, and I've, you know, just double checked my emails for no reason whatsoever. It's just so unintentional. And when I spend so much time talking to you guys about time blocking and being intentional, and I do that stuff, right? And I'm much, much better at time blocking than I used to be. But those interstitial spaces, those gaps between the blocks, and sometimes in the blocks, I'm not going to lie, but mostly between those blocks are pretty full of phone time. And I think it becomes a crutch. I think it becomes something to look at to avoid thinking about anything else. I pull it out in queues, I pull it out on the train, I pull it out when I just finished driving before I go into the house. Like, I'm told that might be an ADHD thing, right? That trouble with like transitioning from one area to another. And so, again, I see that with kind of curiosity rather than judgment. But it does slightly freak me out how, if you ask me how many times I've picked up my phone in the last hour, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I have no idea. Half the time, I don't even notice I've done it. And And so I've decided I want it to change. And I'm a big believer that one of the best ways to make things change is to make it easier for yourself. I used to think that the key was to be better. I just needed to be more disciplined next time. I just needed to be stronger next time. And in reality, I don't think that's true. In reality, I think we need to make these things easier, especially when we're up against something that is technically designed to draw you in and that is, filled with a perfectly curated load of stuff you're interested in. Of course, we need to make this easier. And so I wanted to share with you what I'm going to try, and I'll give you an update and we will see how we go in the future. But the things I'm going to try, I already got myself a Fitbitty jobby, Garmin, that's the word, which means that if my phone isn't with me, then I hear it go off because it buzzes on my wrist. And that's helped a little bit, but my phone is still almost always with me. And so I decided that I needed to try something a bit more extreme than that. And I am trying, and I'm telling you right now, I ain't doing a review because it hasn't even arrived yet, but I will share. I'm trying one of these brick jobbies, the little devices where you can tap it and it bricks your phone. You can decide which apps it blocks, and then in order to unbrick it, you have to tap it back on the thing. And for me, that is it's not a barrier, right? I could just walk back to the brick and unbrick it whenever I wanted. For me, it gives a definitive decision that I'm not using my phone for a period of time. And it is also forcing me to think, encouraging me to think, I should say, encouraging me to think about when do I actually want to check my phone? Because this is one thing in my life where I get a bit all or nothing. And I go, well, why would I want to spend any time scrolling? This is ridiculous. It would be stupid to block an hour of my day to scroll Instagram. Why on earth would I do that? Completely separate from the fact that I usually do that before 7 a.m. So what I'm hoping and the way I'm planning to use it is to make it so that I am much more intentional about whether I'm intending to use my phone during that time period or not. I'm not going to set any automated things. You can set it so it comes on at particular times of day and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to do that at first. I'm going to experiment with it a bit, but my intention at the moment is to use it to physically tap. I'm going to allow WhatsApps to still come through because connecting with my friends is very important to me. That's not the bit that I'm worried about spending too much time doing, chattering on WhatsApp. That feels worth it to me. I'm going to block the things that lead to unintentional scrolling. I'm going to block Facebook. I'm going to block Instagram. Thank goodness I never started TikTok. Thank goodness Elon ruined Twitter for me. That used to take hours of my life too, but that's gone. I am going to block Rightmove as well. I'm not moving house, guys. I moved house like 3 years ago. I have a very bad Rightmove habit of just looking at houses that I'm never going to afford. And I don't like covet them. I just make plans as to, oh, I'd put this in there and I'd put this in there. And oh, that wouldn't work because I couldn't possibly not have two studies or whatever. So I'm going to block Rightmove as well. And I'm going to try and be really intentional. And I'm going to try and kind of experiment with it because I can already feel my brain overthinking of, well, exactly when will you block it? Well, exactly when will you not? And da da da. I'm going to try and be experimental with it. And the other thing I'm going to be really clear about, and this is the bit that I'm naturally very good at, is what do I want to do with that time? Because I think it's one thing to tell yourself to stop doing something, but you also have to decide what you're going to do with that time. And I'm really excited to actually go a lot more analog. So often what I do is I'm looking on Instagram for inspiration to do some fun art or crafts or something. Well, I've got a ton of art books. I've got a brain. I've got a ton of art materials. I don't need a phone to do that. I watch people doing circus tutorials. Well, I've got a load of circus toys. I know some stuff. I've got some books. I've got friends who do this. I can figure out that stuff. Calisthenics. I don't need some guy off the internet telling me how to do push-ups. I have been physically active my entire life. I have a PhD in sport and exercise sciences, which whilst it wasn't specific to that, I used to teach anatomy for God's sake. I know how to do this stuff. I know how to broadly, not at a specialist level, whatever, I know how to broadly structure exercise programs. I know what I need to be doing. I need to actually be doing it. I tag loads of healthy videos and then I spend so much time scrolling, I eat toast. It's craziness. I have a load of recipe books. I can use them. And so my goal is to swap my screen time for actually specifically using stuff I have already. And this is where, other than buying the brick, it kind of fits into this sort of less spending thing as well, right? This kind of being more sustainable. So my intention with it is to use this as a way to be more present, as a way to use the stuff I've got and to actually do the things rather than watch people do the things. The other reason, and this actually directly relates to you lot, and I'm not going to tell you the details, but on Friday, I decided that I wanted a strategy day. I wanted to really think about my business and what I was going to do next and how I would serve you guys next and what that would look like and everything. And I decided that I needed to get away from it all. And one of the joys about being your own boss is that you can decide to do whatever you want. And so I booked myself into a very lovely spa for the day. And I took a notebook and a pen, and I designed and then printed out some reflective questions. And so in this spa, they don't let you take your, or at least they discourage you strongly from taking your phone into the spa itself. So I locked my phone in the locker for the whole day, and I took my notebook and a pen, and I scribbled so many notes. I nearly finished my entire notebook of ideas of things that I think would help you guys, things I want to do over the next year or two, ways I want to support the community, a whole load of free ways that I want to support the community, I'm going to say. So many ideas about so many things. And because I have a coach too, I discussed them with my coach tonight and we've narrowed them down and I have a plan and you guys are going to get to hear about them soon. But let's just say getting a little bit more analog and getting a little bit more connected and being more intentional and stuff like that might be coming your way in the PhD life coach world. So keep a little eye out. You will hear more in the new year. But it just really reinforced to me that my brain's got some quite good stuff in it. If I stop spending hours watching a lady's shrimp mantis called Ludo, he's so cute. I'm going to miss Ludo. I am going to still have to check in on how Ludo's doing. But anyway, if I spent less time filling my eyeballs with things like that, or why apparently skinny jeans are now coming back in again, I'm too confused. Looking at those things, if I spend less time doing those things, my brain actually comes up with a lot of good ideas and insight and clarity and energy. So yeah, this is my plan. And I'm trying it now because, as my coach always recommends, Karen Nordine, who I've recommended before, now is the perfect time to practice New Year's resolutions. So I haven't decided. I might have a screen time goal next year. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But now I'm going to practice and I'm going to see what's useful. And I'm going to see, okay, if I'm not going to wake up and scroll for too long, what am I going to do instead? What works well? Do I want to get up and work? Do I want to get up and exercise? Do I want to get up and chill out? What do I want to do? I'm not sure. But I'm going to experiment and I'm going to see what happens when I'm not just filling my brain with whatever the machine sends my way. Let me know whether this resonated with you or not. I wasn't really intending to talk about it, like I say, but it's been top of my mind. And so I thought I would share it with you guys instead. If you have already been on this sort of journey, message me. I say, I'm not looking for tips and whatever, but particularly if you've ever used Brick and you've got suggestions as to how to set it, the only sort of advice I'm not interested in is don't use Brick, it's a waste of money, or don't do that, do this instead. I've bought it now. I've bought it and I'm going to experiment with it. So I don't want to hear that advice. But if any of you got tips about setting it up, tips about how you've used it, other ways that you've reduced your phone use, let me know, because I intend to really give this a massive shot and keep you guys in the loop about what I've been spending my brain and energy and intention doing when I haven't been doing that. So let's see. I hope, as well as hearing a podcast about phone use, I hope you are also hearing the tone that I'm speaking, not just to myself, but about this. I'm not trying to fix myself. I'm not criticizing myself for being where I'm at. And this is unusual, right? I used to, but I'm really not. I'm curious about how I'm going to do it, curious about how it's going to work out. I'm feeling creative about what I'm going to try and what I'm going to do instead. I'm feeling enthusiastic, and enthusiastic is a really big value for me. I'm feeling really enthusiastic about trying this, and I'm open to kind of collaboration and interest and all those sorts of things from other people too, so that I can explore options. And I'm pretty confident that at some point I'm gonna, scramble downstairs in the middle of the night because I'm desperate for my fix and unbrick my phone or whatever. I'm sure it will go wrong at some point, but that's okay. I'm not gonna make that mean anything about myself either. And so hopefully hearing me work this through with you like this, as you can tell, I mean, this is even less scripted than usual. Hopefully hearing me work it through like this might help you think about how you could address some of the things you're trying to change in your lives. We don't have to be more disciplined. We don't have to criticize ourselves until we have to do it. I just think, I think being kind to ourselves, thinking how we can make it easier and seeing what happens, being optimistic about the possibilities is such a more fun way to do this. I'm going to keep you posted. Let me know if you have been inspired or if you have any advice for me. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will see you next week.